Hi, Chris Myers here in Los Angeles. Hope you'll join me later today. We'll go up close with Lenny Dykstra. Is he calling it a career? We'll address that. Also, some candid comments from Dykstra on tobacco and steroid use in the big leagues. That's later today at 6 Eastern, up close.
Tomorrow night, Game 4 of the NBA Finals, the Jazz can take some comfort in the fact that 3 teams have rebounded from 30-point blowouts in the NBA Finals to come back and win the series. The Lakers did it twice. The Celtics did it to the Lakers.
But, Gary, unfortunately, Chicago has a goal in this area as well, at least if you're a Jazz fan. Did you know that the only team to win 2 games by 30 or more in the same NBA Finals, the 65 Celtics, who spanked the Lakers by 32 in Game 1 and then wrapped it up with a 33-point whipping in Game 5?
We're coming right back at you. We'll hear how the Jazz intend to get back in this series when Rece and I come back. On this edition of SportsCenter, Randy Johnson gets a chance to see what it's like in the National League. The Blue Jays find out what it's like not to have a curfew. We'll see what makes Sammy run, but he's still got a long way to go to catch Mark McGwire. Casey Martin is back in the news, but is he in the U.S. Open? Where's Rodman?
He's going to come to practice tomorrow, hopefully, and have some lame excuse.
What's the Jazz excuse?
They don't want to go back to Utah, but they're going back.
See how the Jazz were spending their free time in Chicago. Our men at the Stanley Cup Finals provide their fearless predictions.
Well, as usual, I agree with half of what you're saying.
Be your own judge of what belongs on SportsCenter.
Hi there, glad to have you with us on SportsCenter. Pleased to be teamed with Gary Miller. I'm Rece Davis.
Ahead in the hour, why Casey Martin abandoned his cart. Where Dennis Rodman abandoned the Bulls for. Bud Selig's seen enough brawling and a straight-up trade on the NASCAR circuit. Our green flag drops in the Golden State.
Yeah, Gary, where the Giants have been racing ahead of the pack. It's likely Lou Piniella was not nearly as concerned about the Giants' 9-game winning streak as about how they were doing it. In 28 innings during the bench, the San Francisco bullpen had allowed just 4 earned runs. 4 earned would be a decent night for the Mariner relievers. The Giants, who've come from behind to win 20 times this season, are second in baseball with 4 wins when trailing after 8 innings. Piniella hoping the big unit would need help from his pen. You know, next to Mark McGwire, the fans come out to see Randy Johnson take batting practice. Actually took a couple out of there and got a nice reception from the fans. Top 2, 1-0 Mariners. Johnson, you know, live pitching's just a little different. Struck out on 3 pitches from Danny Darwin. Bottom 3, game tied at 1, bases used, 2 outs. Jeff Kent, a line shot to right center. Here comes Griffey, can't get it done. 2 runs would score. It was Kent's only hit. Giants up 3-1. Bottom of the 5th now, men on first and second. Barry Bonds, a left-hander who handles Johnson very well, came in hitting .500 for his career, 3 for 6 against him, and gets another hit here. Gets past Cora and Houston's a base hit. Diaz would come in to score. 4-1 Giants. Top 6, Johnson up again. Tries that same swing again. Didn't work again. Didn't bother to run, didn't need to. Darwin throws him out. Johnson 0 for 3. He's now 2 for 19 at the plate in his career. Top 7, Alex Rodriguez, a much better hitter. Knocks one to right center. Cora and Houston would come around to score. A-Rod 2 for 3. RBIs 47-48. Seattle within 1. Seattle trying to come back again, but it is the Giant pen. Look at the good pick there by Rich Aurelia. Joey Cora had been 4 for 4, thinks he should be 5 for 5. He's probably right. He's unleashing some pent-up hostility against Sam Holbrook, the umpire. Here comes Lou Piniella to join in the fray. Joey got ejected. You know Lou's not soon to follow. There he is. Could have been in some good loose dirt there. Sam would have gotten his pants dirty. 2 out now, and Rodriguez, that Giant pen, getting it done one more time as Rich Rodriguez gets his first save of the year, and the Giants win it by a count of 4-3. San Francisco has now won 10 in a row, its longest streak since they reeled off 11 straight back in '91. Johnson did strike out 10. It's the 88th time he's hit double digits, but he falls to 5-5. Giant pen 2 2/3 shutout to back Darwin. The red-hot Sean Estes goes on Tuesday, and Estes, like his fellow Giant starters, has turned it around in May and June. He's evened his mark after going 19-5 last season and starting off very slow in April. During the 10-game winter, the starters have picked up 9 of those wins. A terrific performance by the 42-year-old Darwin on Monday. And the 39-year-old Hershiser became the oldest man to win Pitcher of the Month honors last month, so the veterans are stepping up. To the house, Wayne Huizenga evacuated. Blonde Roger, going against the Marlins and the Blue Jays. That's your pitching hand, Raj. You used it well to get Brian Meadows. Still, Blue Jays were down 3-0. Same score in the top of the 8th. Men on second and third when Sean Green takes Felix Heredia into the gap. Shannon Stewart and Jose would cruise in to cut the lead to 3-2. Jays got another to tie to 3 after 8. Marlins have lost 11 in a row. They'll try anything. They'll wear their hats goofy. They'll send Levon up as a pinch hitter. Levon shall be a good man, but he shall not get a hit. Randy Myers struck him out. He worked 3 innings for the first time in 4 years. Deep into extras, some friends and family stuck around. Top of the 17th, still the same score. Carlos Delgado, the rip to left. Felipe Crespo would come in from first, and the Jays are up 4-3. Or are they? The Marlins appealed, and Tom Hallion said, yes, indeed, Crespo missed third, an opinion that seems to be opposed by our videotape. Looked as if he hit it, but the ruling stood. So in the bottom of the 17th, we're still all tied up when the Todds get together. Zia with the hit, Dunwoody with the winning run. Dunwoody scores to end it. The Marlins win it by a count of 4-3 in 17, and Florida's despicable 11-game losing streak is over. It is the longest game in Florida history, and it matched the longest game in Toronto history. The Jays also played 17 at Boston back in 1980, and it is the longest interleague game ever. Marlins' first 3 batters scored, and then they didn't score again until the gamer. By the way, Fish pitcher set a team record with 16 strikeouts.
During the height of World War II, it was common to only have 3 or 4 players hit more than 20 home runs in a season. By the end of this stretch of interleague play on Thursday, there could be 9 or 10 already this year, especially with Slammin' Sammy Sosa and the sizzling Cubs in the accommodating Metrodome, and Mark McGwire against Chicago's other team, the most generous pitching staff in baseball. Starting in the Twin Cities, what makes Sammy run? We're not sure what makes him do anything, but this makes him trot. A LaTroy Hawkins pitch. His 20th home run of the season. It's his 11th in 10 games, and he's homered in 5 straight. Kerry Wood knows something about strikeouts. He'll go in Tuesday in this series. So does Henry Rodriguez. He strikes out against Hawkins. The first and third innings. Hawkins still in there in the 5th and gets him on the breaking ball this time. Now he faces Eddie Guardado. Strikes him out. 4 strikeouts. He was lifted in the 9th for a pinch hitter, but Jim Riggleman had plenty of other offense. Jose Hernandez homers off Guardado. 3rd straight game he's homered in. The part-time player now has 6 on the season. Cubs up 6-1. And they added in the 9th.
Like they've been hitting.
Sammy Dan Nolte takes the breaking pitch and plops it into left field. The final margin was 8-1. The Cubs have won 10 straight. Sosa's hitting 10 straight, batting .405 in that spurt with 25 RBIs. The only other Cubs to homer in 5 straight games are Hack Wilson and Ryan Sandberg. The Cubs try to make it 11 straight with Kerry Wood against Twins ace Brad Radke on Tuesday. But Radke will have to face Sammy. He's the 5th National Leaguer now with 20 or more homers. Sammy's spurt is one of the strongest since Mattingly tied the all-time record in '87, homering in 8 straight games. Albert Bell hit a dozen in 10 games in 1995. McGwire had a similar stretch earlier this year. Speaking of which, the collapsing Cards come to Comiskey and taking in batting practices, the Cobra and the Mailman. Carl Malone on the off day watching power. Jason Barre's pitch is up in McGwire's eyes, and that's home run number 29. It finally gets in the seats, not one of his typical tape measure jobs. Scary moment for Mark Petkaisit. Mike Caruso hits a line shot at Petkaiset's face, and if he hadn't turned just in time, it could have been even worse. In fact, such a gamer, Petkaisit stayed in there and pitched. Maybe should have come out. Gets ahead of Jeff Abbott 1-2, but gets a pitch up by his jersey emblem, and Abbott will clear the bases. A 3-run triple. Frank Thomas walked 3 times in the game. He trots home. Bell and Ventura score as well. White Sox take an 8-3 lead. But a tying run is to the plate. Mark McGwire gets a pitch up, but Keith Falk got away with it. And the White Sox, with Ventura pulling in the pop fly, hang on to drop the Cards to their 6th straight loss. McGwire now has 13 homers in his last 17 games. Barre has given up 10 homers in 67 innings. Tuesday, Jamie Navarro tries to even his record. He's also given up 10 homers. McGwire's hit 2 off of Navarro in 22 career encounters between those two.
Casey Martin fought long and hard for the right to use a cart, and on the day he needed it most, his 4th and final attempt to make the U.S. Open, 36 holes of golf for 1 of 5 qualifying spots against 68 other similarly desperate men, his cart quit. Martin had the opportunity to do so also over what happened on the golf course. This is on his way to the third green. The cart had just stopped. He talks with officials. They agreed to get him another one on 4. Saves par with a 5-footer. After teeing off on 5, the official tells Martin that Casey had accidentally hit a switch to shut the thing down. The switch is repaired, and Martin's off again on 9 from about 30 feet. Behind the leg, into the cup. Finished 3 under, 67 on the first 18, the afternoon round. This is his last hole, his third shot on the 467-yard par 4. Needed only a bogey to get into the Open, but his tee shot went behind a tree, left his approach short, and then he missed the putt. Had to tap in for double bogey. After 36 holes, he found himself in a 5-man playoff round. Casey was devastated for a while, but he did not give up on himself, and he regrouped. In the second playoff hole, this for the Open. Casey Martin riding his way into the U.S. Open on that final spot.
If they work on a few things on that cart to get a little more smooth, you know, that'd be fine. You know, I'm gonna fly around the Open, so I don't think I'll need a cart. I'll be so pumped. So, I mean, it's kind of the deal when I was growing up, hitting the wiffle ball shots around my yard, thinking I was in the Open. I guess it's going to become a reality, so I just, you know, I can say praise God that he, you know, gives me these opportunities.
More Open qualifying from Rockville, Maryland. This is the first hole of a sudden death. Teddy O from 50 yards out, he has a wedge. Teddy O. Oh, Teddy. Ooh. He's in the Open, and he gets a big bear hug from Dad, and he deserves it. The second hole of sudden death, this is Trevor Dodds putting for birdie, putting for the Open. Trevor's in. Dodds making the long putt in qualifying, but some hefty names will have the Open weekend off. 3 former Masters champions, Stadler, Lyle, and Mize are out. And Mayfair, who's having a nice year, 18th on the money list, won't have the chance to make any cash at the Open.
Monday was a dark night in the NBA Finals. It can't get any darker for the Jazz. More on that ahead. And more Michael Jordan from the conversation before Game 3, this time focusing on off-court concerns. We'll take a 2-minute break. Later, a visit to Detroit, where they're ready for the Stanley Cup opener, including Barry Melrose's prediction. Forrest Becker may be back for one more go at Wimbledon after all. His latest state of retirement. And the Rangers in the Rockies for what turned into a pitcher's duel.
Play Powerade 98 Draft, and if you go in the first round, it is on. You and a buddy off to Disney's Wide World of Sports for the ultimate multi-sport training experience. Living large, larger than large. First round pick, large. Other prizes include discounts at Champ Sports and free Powerade. You, a first rounder? Can you imagine?
Hey!
Of course you can.
Yo, listen up. Our fugitive is wanted for calling ticky-tack foul. Fine. Man, we ain't got time for that. But it's fun. Man, come on, man. I think they lost a set. What's up, dog? One less whistle happy ref, one more happy ending for the Funk Police.
Today's small business client expects round-the-clock service, the keenest of business acumen, and an up-to-the-nanosecond grasp of technology. These pale in comparison to the most fundamental client need of all. A really big steak, and lobster, and mashed potatoes. That's why you need the Visa business card, because Maddie's Tavern, like millions of other places, doesn't take any card from American Express.
You didn't have to buy me lunch.
Visa business card. It's everywhere you want to be.
Oh, you miss me? I miss you.
You know, one time I had this great sandwich. They buttered the bottom of the bread, but not the top.
I love you too, my little raisin. Sorry about the long call. It's just that 1-800-COLLECT's got a really low rate, 10 cents a minute every evening.
10 cents a minute?
Amazingly cheap for a collect call, isn't it?
10 cents a minute is incredibly low. Now, I too have a little raisin, and I'd like to call her using 1-800-COLLECT, of course.
Oh, I'm free to go on living. 1-800-COLLECT, 10 cents a minute every evening.
The combination appeared to be combustible. The two teams with more hits than anyone in the major leagues. Texas leads the Bigs in runs scored and average. Colorado hits 304 at home, a home which had surrendered the second most runs in the majors. One pitcher carried a career ERA of over 9 in his home park against an opponent who'd been pounded for 13 earned in his last 7 2/3. Rangers and Rockies, and with that setup, we can only have one thing, a pitcher's duel. Pedro Estacio blowing away Luis Alicea. Top of the second, Estacio would get a little help from his mates. Pudge into the hole, Nefi Perez. The pick and the peg. Perez has made 11 errors this season, but certainly not on that one. That's the kind of defense the Rockies expected. Juan Gonzalez, Major League RBI leader, getting his chance, and boy, he chased a slider way out of the zone. Top of the 6th, Estacio against Gonzalez one more time. 3 Ks, 0 for 4 for Gonzalez. Estacio K'd 8 on the night, but in the bottom of the 8th, Aaron Seeley is cruising. Curtis Goodwin is frozen, and Ellis Burke stepping in. Sit on it, Potsy. 6 Ks and 8 innings for Seeley. Top of the 9th, the Rangers are up 2-1. Will Clark is on 3rd. Domingo Cedeno, who'd homered earlier in the game, provides a little insurance. With a knock to left, the Thrill would score. Cedeno 3 for 4. He drove in all 3 Ranger runs. 3-1 is the final, so the 3rd time is the charm. Seeley gets his 9th win on his 3rd try to tie Greg Maddux for the Major League lead. Rockies have now lost 4 in a row and are a season-low 12 games under 500. Rick Helling going to go for number 8 for Texas on Tuesday. The Dodgers taking on the A's. Top of the 1st, we're scoreless. Mike Blowers against Ramon Martinez. The bases are juiced with 1 out.
1 and 2.
Little tapper back, and he'll throw it to the sure-handed Charles Johnson. Little help back there. Coming into the season, Johnson hadn't made an error since June 23rd of '96. He's made 4 this year. 2 runs scored there. A's up 2-0. That was plenty for Blake Stein. Johnson could not atone. He struck out twice. Eric Karros struck out twice. And then Bobby Bowe would not win Blake Stein's money. He struck out twice. Stein went 8 1/3. He struck out Penn, giving up 3 runs. Top of the 7th, A's up 4-1. Giambi taking one deep and out of the yard. 3-run blast. Giambi's 7th job of the year. Athletics up 7-1. They would go on to win it by a count of 7-3. Stein, you might recall, was the A's starter in that 16-10 loss to Texas last week when he gave up 9 runs in 4 1/3. Still had 7 Ks in that game, and he's now rung up 38 in his 6 starts. Martinez loses for the first time since April 21st.
Boris Becker is retired, yet has played 5 ATP tournaments this year, albeit not very well. The last one he entered, his native German Open. Becker bowed out in the opening round. Becker's home away from home is Wimbledon, where he's reached the finals 6 times, winning half of those. Monday, he indicated that if he does well at this week's grass court tune-up in Germany, he could change his mind. Becker will let the world know about that on Friday. We'll let you know in 90 seconds about the Braves' old town, the old town, Tom Glavine's hometown, in town, John Valentin slipping out of town, and will the Jazz be brave enough to leave their Chicago hotel rooms? More on them later.
I can still hear the echoes cheering my name.
Time has not silenced the crowd.
I never did. A moon song.
Or walk the top rope.
We never flew through the air.
I can still hear the echoes cheering my name.
But today,
I cheer for them.
Order the WWF King of the Ring on pay-per-view, and you could receive a free Stone Cold Steve Austin skull necklace.
Without Cablevision, home entertainment wouldn't be complete. You wouldn't see so many channel choices, and you wouldn't see them in crystal clear Cablevision clarity. With Cablevision, you get the whole picture, including channels created by Cablevision, like American Movie Classics, Fox Sports, and Bravo. So when you consider the alternatives, aren't you glad you've chosen a company that's got a complete picture of your home entertainment needs? Cablevision. Raise your expectations.
ESPN Classic Sports is going inside the film vault with Al Bernstein.
I'm here in the largest boxing library in the world for Big Fights Boxing Hour.
Every Tuesday night, you're ringside for a trip through boxing history as Classic Sports uncovers the greatest classic fights, many considered lost forever.
This is the one show no fight fan can afford to miss.
Go inside the vault with Al Bernstein on Big Fights Boxing Hour, Classic Sports' new boxing series. If you don't get ESPN Classic Sports, call 1-800-CLASSIC today.
Frankly, my dear, the Eagles do give a darn about Rhett. The Eagles signed defensive tackle Rhett Hall to a 1-year deal. He was designated as the club's transition player in February. He's made 155 tackles and 13.5 sacks in his 3 seasons in Philly. Hall stays home, but Sean Lee going to change addresses. The Chargers deal the disappointing defensive tackle to the Bears for a 5th-round pick. Lee had just 3 sacks while starting 15 games for San Diego last year.
Last week, the Braves went back to Milwaukee for the first time since they lived there 33 years ago and swept the Brewers by a combined 19-4 count. Through the magic of interleague play, their original town of Boston dropped down. The Braves' old cross-city rivals, the Red Sox, first foray into Fulton County. Boston area native Tom Glavine going for win number 9 to equal teammate Greg Maddux, but it wasn't going to happen. John Valentin goes down and gets one, doubles in Darren Lewis. Boston builds a 3-1 lead. By the 8th, it's 4-1. Ryan Klesko pops up against Ron Mayhay. Valentin gives it his all.
Valentin
almost, and he does slip into the dugout, but made the catch. Sox already scored 2, looking for more. Damon Buford against Alan Embry. Into the gap. Andrew Jones, long way to go. Got there and made the catch and kept it at 6-1. Bottom of the 9th. Tom Gordon's got a scoreless inning streak going. Jimmy Williams said you can never be too careful about the team he used to coach third for. Well, Tom Gordon didn't help out. Keith Lockhart will drop that one in to score Ozzie Guillen, who walked to open the inning. He walked a couple of batters. It really came back to haunt him. Chipper Jones tees off. A slap shot up the middle. Walt Weiss makes it 6-3. And Flash Gordon, the top reliever in the majors in terms of saves, gets pulled without getting an out. 4 runs charged to him. John Wasden, who spent about an hour at Pawtucket and then got called back when Dennis Eckersley got hurt, gives up this blast to Andres Galarraga. Takes the curveball in the gap. Braves are within 1. Boston's still got a chance to hold on. Next batter, Ryan Klesko. Wasden tried to compose himself, goes to the outside corner, and Klesko goes with it. Bloops it into left field. Danny Batista pinch running, comes home to tie it at 6. 2 batters later, it's Gerald Ice Williams pinch running. Off the curveball, Jones with a seeing eye single. Past Nomar Garcia Parra. Williams scores, and the Braves score 6 times in the 9th. It's their 8th last at-bat win. Glavine doesn't get his 9th, but Derek Lowe also missed out on a chance with a 6-1 lead to pick up his first win in almost a year. Gordon's ERA doubles from 110 to 220. He had allowed 4 earned runs in 29 appearances. He's charged with 4 in this loss. The Sox are now 0-4 against Atlanta, having been swept at Fenway last year. On Tuesday, the last time Brett Saberhagen pitched in Atlanta, he got pounded as a Rocky in the last playoff game they ever played. At the Jake, the Pirates popping in on their next-door neighbors. Going with the pitch, Mark Whitten, who is starting to do his hitting. Kenny Lofton's going to try and score, and Jose Guillen guns him down. He's meat. Guillen's got a pretty fair arm for a system that produced Roberto Clemente. Kenny Lofton tries it another way now. Goes down the left base line and gets some assists from the chalk. Hits the bag. No, it's fair.
Bottom of the 3rd.
And it put him on base for Jim Tomei, who extends his hitting streak to 14 games with a towering, nearly 3rd-tier home run. His 16th of the year off Peters. Martolo Colon didn't even need that much support. Great diving catch by Whitten in right.
Here they'll go home for 3 and then head out again.
And he freezes Luke Collier.
Complete games for the
and watch him take something off of Kevin Young. He wasn't ready for that. A 4-hit shutout.
Let's take a look now.
Constantly clocking in the 90s. The Indians have won 18 of 24. They have a 10.5 game lead in the Central. Bob Lemon went into Cooperstown in 1976. On June 20th, Cleveland will ceremoniously retire Lemon's number 21. Although manager Mike Hargrove will still wear it. Doc Gooden is 12-12 lifetime as he goes against the Pirates Tuesday.
It may be interleague, but it's intra-family when the Tigers and the Astros get together for their reunion. Scottie Pippen said after Game 2 he had no intention of returning to Utah. How Pippen and the Bulls are backing those words up.
Every player has a weakness. Tonight, Mr. Grant Hill's weakness takes center court.
There's only one place to go for the irresistible taste of America's favorite fries. Did somebody say McDonald's? Enjoy the fries that have earned the right to be called America's favorite fries.
This.
$100 billion, or the X Games will be destroyed.
Wake up, Lugenstein.
Sorry, baby. Daddy's got to go to work.
The name's Stein.
Lugenstein.
This summer, Daryl Thompson goes ballistic.
You're too late, Luge boy. The X Games are doomed.
What a way to go.
The X Games, coming June 20th.
God save us.
Long after the fans and players have gone home, the 4 billion TV watchers have switched off, and all the others have taken their billboards down. One company will still be there, pushing to make a ball that goes even faster, shoes that make players even more powerful. Because to us, each World Cup is a signpost, not a destination.
It's in the blood for the Smiths. Tal's kid Randy followed in his father's footsteps and has a similar penchant to Pop for peddling flesh. When the son was in San Diego, he pulled off baseball's biggest deal in 37 years with Dad's Astros, including Ken Caminiti and Steve Finley. 2 years later, he engineered the Tigers' largest trade in nearly 40 years, once again with Tal. This year, the Smith and Astros family reunion is in Detroit. A lot of crossbreeding between these two teams. Damian Easley having an incredible year.
Bouncer
looking to make the All-Star team. He gets one off the glove, but nice barehanded grab by rookie Gutierrez to stop Easley in his tracks. Tigers did have a 5-4 lead, still had it in the 8th. And Doug Brocail facing Gutierrez, who singles up the box. He'll test Brian Hunter, and the one-time Astro throws it home, while Bacco is waiting for Clark. And Dave is done. Hunter and Brocail are pumped up. Todd Jones used to be teammates with these guys. Now facing the Astros, and Derek Bell goes the other way on him and pounds it off the base of the wall. Craig Biggio would come around to score and tie the game at 5 in the 9th. Moise Alou would hit a sac fly and give the Astros a late lead. Then Carl Everett takes the hanging curve from Jones and blasts it into the right field corner. Bell scores easily. Higginson has trouble, rolls it in. Bagwell's going to score. And then the throw goes into left field from Bacco, and Everett will come all the way around. A 5-run 9th. The Astros beat up on the kids' team 9-5. The Astros maintain their tie with the Cubs atop the Central. Biggio stole 3 bases, giving him 23. That's second in the league. He scored after all 3 steals, giving him 54 runs. That's tied with Chipper Jones for the league lead. At the Vet, the Phils going from a rematch of the 93 World Series to the 83 World Series rematch. Rafael Palmeiro continues his tear against Darren Winston. Goes down and gets it and breaks open a 7-all tie in the 6th. A 2-run shot is his 16th of the year. Next batter, Joe Carter hasn't done much as an Oriole, but he is back in the Vet. Crushes a shot, his 6th of the season. He's 16 shy of 400. This one off Jerry Spradlin and his back-to-back jack. In the 8th, the Orioles up 3 but in trouble. Armando Benitez with 2 aboard faces the tying run. So pitching coach Mike Flanagan wants to discuss some strategy. Then he pulls a Colombo. Oh, and one more thing. Did I tell you about... Well, that's illegal. He had left the mound area. Terry Francona knows that's rule number 8.06. Big Joe West knows that means the manager is automatically rejected, and it means Armando Benitez must pitch to another batter. He ends up walking Rico Brogna, then he's out of the game. But fortunately, that led to Jesse Orozco, who gets the turning around Alomar 4-6-3 double play off the bat of Mark Lewis. They get out of the bases loaded jam to win it 14-8. Doug Glanville had 3 hits. He's got a major league leading 29 multi-hit games and is batting .330. Lieberthal had 4 hits. You can expect plenty of offense in Tuesday's tilt. Winless Ponson has given up 8 homers in 31 innings against Matt Beach, who surrendered 10 gopher balls.
Maybe we should all check our milk cartons. The Jazz are missing, and in Game 3, it looked as if they've been replaced by the Nuggets after obliterating futility records to numerous dimensions Sunday night. The question for now is not whether Utah can rally to win the series or even another game in it. The question is, after an embarrassment of gargantuan proportions, can the Jazz muster the fortitude to show up, or did the Bulls cut the heart out of the 2-time Western Conference champs? Dan Patrick leads our coverage.
On Sunday night, Chicago took a literal approach to defending its NBA title by smothering the Utah Jazz in a record-setting fashion. Utah's point total, the lowest since the introduction of the shot clock, while Chicago's margin of victory, the largest in finals history. So now the wait begins. Chicago waits 2 days for a chance to put Utah on the brink of elimination, while Utah must wait 2 days for a shot at redemption. However, in the meantime, Chicago is not without concern. Here's Bonnie Bernstein.
The talk at practice Monday wasn't just about what the Jazz was missing in Game 3, but who the Bulls were missing the day after. Dennis Rodman, once again, was nowhere to be found.
He called at practice about 15 minutes ago and said that he had just gotten up late. I think his alarm clock didn't work or something.
Yeah, it drives us crazy at times, and it would be nice to have him on the practice floor, and every now and again in a game you see him miss something that we covered in practice, and it hurts us, and we get frustrated with it at times.
We're pretty much used to it. I mean, it's the wrong time of the season to take the focus away of what we're trying to accomplish, but, you know, we've always let Dennis have his way.
Rodman's random behavior stems back to his days in San Antonio. He's hardly ever at the arena the mandated 90 minutes before game time, and these days he doesn't even have to sit on the bench when he's not playing. But tens of thousands of dollars in fines after the fact, Jackson has come to realize it just doesn't matter.
I don't think punishment's necessary. I mean, you know, I'm really a person that says, okay, he's willing to take the punishment of money. I mean, we've talked about it. He just says, I have no excuse, just fine me. But punishment as far as, you know, losing status with the team or embarrassment, you know, or, you know, sitting on the bench or suspension or those kind of things, even though there's some dysfunction, he's still a very functional player for us because we incorporate him.
Dennis is going to do whatever he can to gain attention. We know that. I mean, that's something that we've come to understand. You know, what we really need Dennis to do is focus when we step on the basketball court and be in a cohesive mind, one mind.
He's going to come to practice tomorrow, hopefully, and have some lame excuse, but, you know, we're just going to overlook it and, you know, and just look forward to the next game.
Jackson was asked whether coaching Rodman was like teaching kindergarten. No, he said, it's more like special ed. But just like a teacher, Jackson was well aware of what he was getting into when he let the pupil into the classroom. In Chicago, I'm Bonnie Bernstein. Now here's David Aldridge with the Jazz.
On the morning after the office party, some guys have to explain why they had a lampshade on their head. The Utah Jazz had to spend Monday trying to find some positive from the league's worst offensive performance in more than 50 years.
The sun came up. Today's another day, and we just go back to the drawing board. And
it's one of them half-hour interval sleep type nights, man. You know, you think about the game all night long, and but this is going to separate the men from the boys. We'll see who comes back and shows up and really wants to play.
You can't describe that one. I mean, in the finals, what, how many points? 54 points. It was indescribable.
You sit around and look at the TV, you're going to dwell on it. You got to turn off your TV, turn off your radio, don't read the newspapers. You just got to let it go out your mind.
Many things were tough for the Jazz to accept on Sunday, but the fourth quarter in particular stuck in Karl Malone's craw. With the Jazz down by more than 30 points, Chicago's reserves continued to launch three-pointers.
It was having a good time, and, you know, it was obviously still taking threes when the game was well out of hand, you know, and over here on our side, our coach have a fit when, you know, if we did that. But watching the way it was, if, you know, if this can get you motivated, nothing else can.
But not everybody saw it that way, including Malone's soon-to-be Hall of Fame sidekick.
Nobody says because we're down 30-some points that you can't still guard a guy at the three. Nobody says that if you're down 30 points, you can't execute then also.
For Utah's part, it remains wholly confident that its last game of the season will be played at the Delta Center.
They don't want to go back to Utah, but they're going back.
Jerry Sloan was one of the toughest Chicago Bulls ever to put on a uniform. And now that he's with the Jazz, he expects and demands no less from his team, which has to find a way to get its grit back by Wednesday or be in a world of trouble. At the NBA Finals, I'm David Aldridge, ESPN.
Jack, I guess there's two schools of thought here with the Utah Jazz. They have 2 days off to remember who they are or forget about who they were.
Dan, I think they need the time. They've got to find an answer to the harassing defense led by Scottie Pippen that chased John Stockton in the backcourt, made him give up the ball, and also in the front court, forcing him baseline on screen and roll situations. Again, Pippen either cutting off the baseline or picking up Karl Malone in the middle. It was very disturbing element to the Utah Jazz in Game 3. They have to find some answers. They've got to find ways to score points.
Dennis Rodman, there seems to be this public acceptance by the Bulls and by Phil Jackson that what Dennis is doing is okay, but deep down, behind the scenes, what's going on?
Oh, I think they're all very disturbed, the coaches and the players. Why at this time would Dennis Rodman choose to absent himself? This is the most important time of the year for the Chicago Bulls, and he's a key element in their team. He's a very smart basketball player. He needs to handle the ball. He needs to be at the defensive end. Why this time now? I think Phil Jackson is unique in his ability to tolerate this behavior and still get production from Dennis Rodman. I don't know any other coach who could do it.
I know, that's what you said. If he played for any other team, this wouldn't be happening. In particular, he couldn't play for you this way.
Not this way, Dan.
Our coverage of the NBA Finals will continue on SportsCenter. For Jack Ramsey, I'm Dan Patrick. Let's go back to the studio.
Gentlemen, thank you, and we have located Rodman. Dennis was in the company of Hulk Hogan at a WCW match in Auburn Hills, Michigan. You've heard that the Bulls were peeved, but one of Rodman's wrestler pals, a guy called the Giant, said, quote, if the Bulls try to control him from doing things like this, it would be like cutting off Samson's hair. Well, not exactly. Samson's hair was a single hue, I believe. Gary?
We can't say that for Dennis. As Detroit sets for the last step of defending the cup, here comes Olaf Kolzig. And as Tampa hits town, the Mets realize they were an expansion team 3 dozen years ago, so let's do something about this no-hitter shutout.
Air Canada has more non-stops between the USA and Canada than any other airline. So what's stopping you?
Hi, Tom Bodette. Well, this is what I looked like back when I was new. And this is a new room at Motel 6. When I was new, a new room at Motel 6. Cute, huh? I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Here we are in this simple, majestic setting. None of the usual interruptions. Nobody around to distract us from introducing AT&T One Rate Plus. Now, the key point, the thing to remember, is that every call you make from home with One Rate Plus, every call, day and night, 10 cents a minute.
Did you say 10 cents a minute, dude?
How do they find me?
AT&T One Rate Plus. 10 cents a minute, anytime. Call 1-800-4-1-RATE to enroll.
Then wait! Wait!
Now, while the Devil Rays expansion season has hardly gone up in flames, the team bus did. On the way to the airport Sunday for a trip to New York, fire broke out, forcing the Devil Rays to hop another bus. No one was hurt, and everyone presumably had tokens or change for the second bus fare. The Devil Rays and the Mets, Rick Reed, like to burn the bats the Mets have used in some of his starts, shut out in 2 of his 3 losses. But he figures if the other team can't score, they can't beat him. Quentin McCracken strikes out, and then Reed goes about getting some offense for himself. A base knock to left, his 4th RBI of the year, 2-0 Mets. Let's see, we've seen some pitching, we've seen some offense. How about some defense? Robbing Fred McGriff, Reed perfect through 5. The Mets have never had a no-hitter. Mike Piazza, it's real and it's spectacular. Number 11 of the season, he was 3 for 3, his 2nd homer with the Mets. Mets up 3-0, top 7, 2 outs. The perfect game still going until Wade Boggs. I think Reed knew it. Got the pitch up just a little bit. Boggs winds up with a ground rule double. So much for the perfect game and the no-hitter. Top of the 8th, though, we still have a chance for a shutout. And Ray Ordonez making sure Reed keeps that opportunity. Robbing Randy Wynn. Boy, Ordonez just unbelievable at short. The next batter's McCracken. He bloops one out there, and Bernard Gilkey is there to rob him. And Reed gets his first complete game shutout since 1992 when he was a member of the Royals. Mets beat the Devil Rays 3-0. Reed's ERA $1.21 over his last 8 starts. Dennis Springer gets his major league leading 10th loss. No-mo goes for the Mets on Tuesday. He's been advised that part of his problem in L.A., he was tipping pitches. We'll see how that goes. Padres and Reds, feed vision, wipe to score only. Padres beat the Reds 4-2. Joey Hamilton, 7 hits, 5 Ks over 8. He gets his first win since May 2nd. Trevor Hoffman, a perfect 17 for 17 in save situations. He's now converted 25 in a row dating to last year. By the way, Tony Gwynn left this game with a calf strain in the 5th inning. He is listed as day-to-day.
Before leaving for Detroit for their first ever Stanley Cup final, the Capitals drew a raucous crowd at their practice facility. Most of the 750 there chanting "Ole, Ole" for the goalie. Kolzig comes up against Chris Osgood, who last year backed up Mike Vernon. And now not only starts, but rooms with Steve Yzerman in the playoffs. Our Steve Levy gets us ready for the series.
Olaf Kolzig of the Capitals has played many different roles this season. Backup, starter, all-star, Olympian, and now Stanley Cup Finals goaltender. Not bad for a career minor leaguer and NHL second stringer. Talk about your career year.
I keep reading articles how Ole's hot. Well, Ole's been hot all year, right from the first day of training camp. So I don't think it's hot anymore. It's good.
For us, you know, Ole's been the story for our team the whole year.
While Detroit's Chris Osgood has let in some awful goals this postseason, overall he hasn't been awful. He's been solid. His goals against a shade above 2, his save percentage a shade above .900. Exactly where you want it to be. And he's 12-6.
His record speaks for itself. His winning percentage is in a class with a guy like Dryden. I think he's right beside Dryden in all time, and I don't think he has to, you know, defend himself at all.
I don't think he feels any undue pressure, or any undue burden that he has to, you know, do backflips in the net for us to win. He just got to do his job as much like any of the other players in the team.
In every series, you got the goalies against each other. It's like a prize fight. If I play better and win, so be it. If I don't, we win. That's even better.
With everything that's gone on in the postseason and you know, with what happened in Game 5 in Dallas, he's shown how mentally tough he is and how tough of a competitor he is. So I know we beat Dominic Hasek, but I think the job's just going to be as tough against Chris Osgood.
We're joined here in Detroit by Barry Melrose, and while we couldn't get any of the players to admit to it, it would seem that Olaf Kolzig would have to be unbelievable for Washington to win this series. However, for Detroit to win, Chris Osgood only has to be pretty good.
Well, as usual, I agree with half of what you're saying. I think Kolzig has to be great for this team to beat the Detroit Red Wings. He's been great all playoffs long. He's been the best goaltender in the playoffs. I think he's got to continue to be like that if Washington's going to win. But on the flip side of that, I don't think people are giving the Washington Capitals enough credit. You got the Bonder line, you got the Oates line, you got two lines that can score, some offensive defensemen. I think Osgood's going to have to be better than he was against Dallas if this team's going to beat Washington Capitals. A lot of people aren't giving Washington much credit. This is a pretty good hockey club.
All right, and with that in mind, it is time for the official Barry Melrose prediction. However, we remind you, we offer up this disclaimer, it is subject to change.
Philly in 7, unless it changes early in the series where I might go back in Detroit and say Detroit in 7. But right now, Philly in 7.
I am going to amend it. I think it's going to be Detroit in 4, unless, of course, Philadelphia wins 2. Then I can change it back to Philly in 7.
So what about this time around, Barry?
Well, I'm just like instant replay. As long as I get the call right at the end, I feel it's warranted. This year, Detroit in 6. I think they're a better club. But on the flip side of that, Ole the goalie could get Conn Smythe winner. If he does, I think Washington's got a chance.
All right, the Barry giving the Caps more credit than many of the other media types here in Detroit. The popular prediction going around here was Detroit in 3, and that Game 4 would just be if necessary. Let's go back to the studio.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. The finals open Tuesday night on Fox. ESPN's coverage of the Stanley Cup Finals begins Thursday for Game 2. 7:30 Eastern Time, we'll have Quest for the Cup, and then the game at 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Still to come on SportsCenter, more verses of an American in Paris. Will the American soccer team's World Cup venture be a masterpiece? Overzealous European soccer fans have had nothing on a couple of baseball brawls. Prize for fights, though, could be rising.
It's small, but powerful enough to bring people together who are worlds apart. Its microphone reaches down to catch your softest whispers. Its jog dial navigator makes getting in touch as easy as touching. Sony's remarkable wireless phones. Advanced technology that advances your life.
Your money. Investing it should get you somewhere. So you put your money in mutual funds. How do they invest it? At Janus, they dig deep. They like to visit the company before they buy the stock. They interview customers, suppliers, employees. Looking that closely turns up the most promising places to invest your money. That's how you get there. Janus No-Load Mutual Funds.
You heard about the high-endurance deodorant challenge from Old Spice? It's great at stopping odor. But what if you got to stop sweat? Well, now High Endurance makes a powerful new anti-perspirant. A white solid that goes on clear. See? No white flakes. So you can stay dry without the white mess you get from some other antiperspirants. Guaranteed. Or call 1-800-PROVE-IT and Old Spice will buy you a stick of yours. So take the challenge. Because this is more than just an antiperspirant. This is the high endurance of antiperspirants.
Folklore has it, the spices they cook with in the West Indies are aphrodisiacs. As if in a place like this, you need any help. Royal Caribbean, like no vacation on Earth.
The U.S. World Cup team is here in France, and Outside the Lines has spent the last 9 months with this team in times good and bad. Tuesday evening, you will see the inside story behind this U.S. World Cup team.
Shoot, 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 okay? Get the ball into the box, a little bit more patience in midfield, and everyone work their f***ing ass off defensively to win the ball back. Call Brecky.
I don't want to be the guy to hold my hand up and say, sorry, guys, maybe it's better off someone else plays today.
I can't go.
I think you can.
I can't.
It's not what you think. I'm only doing a little maintenance.
I'll see you Thursday.
I love you.
I love you too. Bye-bye.
Nicholas, my little baby.
Look to change the point of attack because it's on all day long.
Pursued by Paul. Oh, look at Keon Brittany. And we are equal.
What happened? I didn't even see it. Harks, give me a piece of your mind for a second.
I still believe that John Harkes belongs on the team.
He had lost touch with what it meant to be a captain. I can't tell you how proud I am to be your coach. What an honor it is. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. You deserve this 100%. We're on defense, boys.
Get to know them. This is what Bob's talking about. Join Monsieur Lee from Paris Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Outside the Lines, behind the U.S. World Cup team.
Acting Commissioner Bud Selig wants baseball players to stop acting like guests on the Jerry Springer Show. Selig is calling for, quote, more effective penalties for those leaving the dugout or their positions to escalate bouts such as those between the Yankees and Orioles or the Royals and Angels. The league presidents, baseball CEO Paul Beeston, and the Players Association have been instructed to meet to devise a new plan. Current fines and suspensions don't include loss of pay, meaning Casey's Tony Muser will be paid for his 8-game hiatus whenever he takes it. Muser's Royals taking on the Brewers. Jose Offerman, the Royals hadn't homered since June 1st. Viagra. His third of the year. Off Jeff Juden. Royals go up 8-5 in the 6th. Top 9. Now Brewers down 8-7 but rallying. Jose Valentin. Jeff King. Oh! But Darren Jackson's going to try to score from second. Is he thinking Royals win it by a count of 8-7 as Jackson makes the final out at the plate. Jackson said he got to go. No stop from third base coach Joel Youngblood, and then it was too late on Jackson's game-ending gamble. Phil Garner said, unbelievable, crazy. Royals snap a 4-game home loser while the Brew Crew has lost 6 in a row on the road.
90 seconds from now, an extended conversation with Michael Jordan, including his reflections on his influence on consumers worldwide and how it started.
13 years later, you see all the business that has been generated around the way you play the game. It baffles me. I'm shocked by it because it never drove me. I never consumed myself with it.
Brad Pitt. If you can imagine a hidden place, rich with all the strange beauty of your nighttime dreams, then you know where I am.
From danger through battles to enlightenment, pay-per-view takes you on an amazing journey.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama would like to meet you.
Astonishing.
Your life's a great risk.
Stirring.
How can I help people if I run away from them?
7 years in Tibet. Epic adventure, easy to order on pay-per-view.
Sure, they look like boots, but they're more than that. They're equipment. They're John Deere boots available at Lucky Shoes. Lucky Shoes, one of the most respected names in quality family footwear for over 75 years, now carries sturdy, durable boots from one of the most respected names in their industry, John Deere. See the complete selection of rugged, no-nonsense footwear at Lucky Shoes. John Deere boots. These aren't boots, they're equipment. Lucky Shoes. Receive a free gift with purchase while supplies last.
Out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Yeah, that song was written by Jack Norworth, and no finer song has ever been written.
Oh, Nomar and the Sox taste interleague competition as they go south to battle the Big Cat and the first-place Braves. Then hard-hitting rookie Ben Grief and the A's check out new addition Gary Sheffield and the rest of the Dodgers in an interleague doubleheader. Tomorrow at 7:30 and 10:30 on ESPN.
I want to tell you something. It's a grand game.
The NBA on ESPN Radio, Game 4 between the Jazz and the Bulls. Utah trying to recover from that debacle in Game 3. Coverage starts at 8:37 Eastern Time. Check your local listings, and when you find ESPN Radio, lock it in and rip the knob off.
Michael Jordan stopped talking to Sports Illustrated after a critical magazine cover during his baseball phase titled "Give It Up, Michael." It never stopped the magazine from putting Papa Bull on its cover, just as it's done again this week. Jordan gives it up on topics off the court in part 2 of his conversation with Stuart Scott.
You've been criticized in the past, probably most vocally by Jim Brown, for what he feels is you not speaking out for African Americans. How do you handle criticism like that?
I think that's an unfair criticism from him, because he doesn't know what I've done. He doesn't know what I'm planning to do. And I know Jim has done a lot for LA and a lot of things within the community. And Jim has to look at his career too, in a sense. I mean, it was years where he had, his life in front of him, and certainly his enjoyment, and he did things certainly was not respectable in some people's eyes. And then he matured at a certain level, and then he got more into that stage is coming from Michael Jordan. I've done things that I feel comfortable with and I feel good about. And I'm going to do more as I get away, as basketball has not consumed more of my time.
Do you feel like you have a responsibility to African Americans?
Sure, I have a responsibility to Afro-Americans, but I have a responsibility to a lot of other people, too, in my family. And it's not just designated for the Afro-Americans, because those are not just the people who admire me, but I have my first and foremost priority is to my Afro-Americans, without a doubt.
This summer, you're going to Asia. You're going to see the manufacturing shops where your shoes, where the Nikes are made.
I just want to see for myself what a lot of complaints are being made.
How critical an evaluation are you going to give?
I'm going to give it very serious, very serious, and not to a point where I'm going to make political stands. I'm going to go in and evaluate from my perspective.
Could you ever see yourself severing ties with anyone because the way that they do things is not up to your standards or not the way that you want it to be?
Sure. If I feel, I'm going to go off my gut feeling. If I feel like, some things are being taken advantage of, then sure. If I have any opportunities to get out of the deal or get out of the situation, then I will, and I think that hopefully they would understand that.
Sometimes I dream that he is me.
$10 billion is your worth to our society. Do you fully completely grasp what you mean to this society, not just as far as sports are concerned, but as far as role models, as far as kids of every color, shape, size, thinking that they're you?
I'm aware of them, but I can't really grasp it yet, because when I first started this long road of basketball, knowledge and education, I always considered it to be just a game. I never was intrigued by the business. That never drove me into the game. What consumed me was being the best basketball player I could be. And 13 years later, you see all the business that has been generated around the way you play the game. It baffles me. I'm shocked by it because it never drove me. I never consumed myself with it. And somewhere down the road, when my kids have kids, I'm a grandfather, whatever, I'm gonna think back and say, man, I helped the economy in the 13 years that I played.
You have a lot of good things in life. You've got a great wife, great kids, more money than you could ever want. But you can't just decide one day, I'm gonna go to the mall and pick this up. You can't just, I'm gonna go to the movie tonight. I'm taking Juanita and Marcus and Jeffrey and Jasmine. Yeah, but
we sneak around, but we go to the movies.
You have to sneak around.
Sure.
How much do you miss being a regular guy?
When you say you miss something, you have to give up something, and I have enjoyed my career, and now as I get, in the tail end of my career, sure, I want to do other things, you know, with my wife and with my kids, you know, because I want to experience it. I don't know what I've missed. I'm looking forward to that challenge. I'm looking forward to that entertainment of seeing the smiles on my family's face, that we can do some normal things that normal families would.
Is that what people don't get? The people who say Michael's not going to have anything, he's going to give up basketball, and he's not going to have anything else to go to, he's not going to know what to do. Is that what they don't understand?
They don't think.
Family?
I think what they don't think or understand that I can separate my competitive drive in sports, in a sense, with, you know, with my family, because that consumes a lot of the competitive juices that I used over for the game of basketball. You know, and I welcome that. I can't wait to. I've been doing it, but I want to do it more. You know, and that's not an easy transformation for me. You know, and people are going to see that when the time comes.
Stuart, Michael, thanks a lot. Since shedding his albatross at Daytona, Dale Earnhardt has been suffering many other plagues. The Intimidator hopes a major change will lead to a turnaround.